Hey, welcome back. Talking about books. This is funny, so I thought my next video would be going chronologically back for books I've read this year, but turns out, nope. I had a super fast read of this little book here, not so little. And yeah, so now I have two recent books that I read just recently. Most recent this one, and before this one, so let's talk about those. So right here, I have the classic, The Phantom of the Opera. Yay! By Gaston Leroux. So this was my first time both experiencing the story and obviously reading it. So I hadn't seen any Phantom of the Opera movie or cartoon or anything. I guess I've seen trailers or something because like in my head I do have something, but like I never like knew the story. Just like there is a phantom in the opera and he's like he likes a singer. Like that was like my knowledge of the Phantom of the Opera. So basically I didn't know anything. So going in this fairly blind and read it, and I really enjoyed it. I thought the story was very intriguing, very good. Not at all what I expected. So it starts actually by the author himself, sort of almost being like a character in his book, claiming that the accounts that follow about the Phantom of the Opera, that he can prove that they are correct and things like that. That was a very interesting kind of yeah. I didn't expect that, and like the author himself returns from time to time in certain chapters again, like almost talking to the audience, and that was kind of yeah, that was very interesting. Like I've never seen that really done. Like the one author that comes to mind is Jane Austen. Sometimes she talks to the reader, like saying things like that, like not very like simple, like one few sentences, like, oh, but who could have thought that this character would become a heroine in North America, for example, or like anyone who would know proper propriety, and she would like make a real life remark on maybe certain people's behavior or something like that, but not like in this way. So that was very interesting. The fun thing is like I felt so sorry for the main singer, Christine. So again, I'm not gonna spoil much. I will say a few things, but not like spoiling the story. I felt like sorry for her, mostly because both like the Phantom that really is enthralled by her, and then also her like other suitors. I just find both of them are so terrible. Like all this time I was like rooting just for her, and I was just thinking like this is borderline stalking and like not okay behavior for human being to do to another human being in that sense. Yeah, I can't really say more without spoiling, but yeah, so it's a love story, obviously. It was very interesting, and it was more like scary in certain parts than I ever expected, and yeah, it's a very cool read. So all in all, I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the ending in particular, and yeah, I'm actually kind of intrigued that I might. There's a book called Phantom Only, or The Phantom, which is apparently a sort of what do you call it, like a origin story of how the Phantom of the Opera came to be. And like now after having read this, I'm kind of sort of interested, like where did he come from, and how did he end up in that opera in Paris. So yeah, that's the Phantom of the Opera, my first time. And the other book, I read this in a couple days, even though it's 500 pages, but this is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. Bardugo. I always mess up the U and the O. Bardugo, sorry. By Leigh Bardugo. So if you know Shadow and Bones on Netflix, that's the Grisha verse that she created. And Six of Crows are actually in Shadow and Bones, even though in the Shadow and Bones series, they're not. I think now I haven't read Shadow and Bones. I just read only this one as my first Grisha verse book. But I think they're more in the background or not at all. I can't say. But what I do know is that a friend of mine, when we watched Shadow and Bones the first years together, she told me like that the crows were her favorite. And when I watched the Netflix series, I was also like, yeah. Whenever the crows are on screen, that's like when it gets interesting to me personally. So I was like, you know what? I don't need to read the Grishaverse. I'm not too big on YA. But yeah, I was intrigued by the thieves and cutthroats that they are, and they're mean to each other, but truly they really love each other. And I don't know, yeah, it was just kind of interesting for me. And also the lead in the group cast, Brecker, was really cool to me. Like also the actor did such a great job that I was so intrigued by his characters. Like this is a man that's so hurt, but he still has heart, but he never shows it. And I don't know, it was just very interesting to me. And so yeah. So now I read the first books. It's a duology, so it's 2 books, Six of Crows. Yeah, I loved it. I guess I was a little bit biased because I was already excited going in, and that's I think also why it went so fast. 500 pages to it was like 100 a day or even more. I think I read it in 4 days. So yeah, which is like a lot considering I'm working. So what should I say about this without spoiling? So yeah, so basically, I mean, it even says here on the cover, 6 dangerous outcasts, 1 impossible heist. So this is what the book is about. So you have 6 of the crows, they're attempting an impossible heist. You have 6 very, 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 very different characters, and they all have their backgrounds, and that's like what I like how Leigh does it is instead of like having the backstories to the characters like spelled out from one dude to the other that comes new into the crew and just like, oh, didn't you know? Yeah, he grew up there and did that and that. It's actually way more inner monologue than it's like spelled out sort of backstory, which I kind of prefer. I thought it was a very interesting way. So basically, like maybe the characters are on a long trek and all they do is walk, but instead of just writing now they walk and it's boring, you go into the character's head and they're thinking back on the last time something similar happened, or they're thinking about a certain character from the group, and that's how you get like to know. And then you don't get everything dumped on you at once either, which I also very much like. So then something happens and be immediately back in, and that's also like how it can happen to you, right? You can just walk and maybe think about something, then you hear something, you're immediately back in the here and now, and it just felt so real to me. So yeah, I liked that way of doing it, the backstories, because I feel like especially in young adults that the characters are not always that complex. they're usually quite simple. They have like one little thing in their past or two, and that's it. But here it felt like there's a lot of history, and some characters have history with each other, and it made all sense as to how they interacted with each other, and yeah. And then I mean a heist, and reading about a heist, I would argue is more exciting than watching a heist on TV. So that was really cool, well written, also easy read. Like the language for me, it was easy to read. I could just flow by. I like the Grishaverse one enough, and the different like countries and even different languages incorporated, but always also translated to English, so you're not like wondering or needing to pick up a dictionary for another language. I really enjoyed that too. So yeah, so very exciting, like thriller-ish book, young adult, with really really cool characters, and yeah, and the heist. So I can absolutely recommend it if that is in your alley. For me, it was good fun. I enjoyed it. And that's it. So that's the last 2 books that I read. I am currently still reading the 3rd Game of Thrones. This one took a little backseat, but I knew that was always meant. So this is my filler book. So I read it whenever I have like extra time, but otherwise I'll just go through, yeah, for other books that I bought, because I don't want to spend like weeks only on one single book. So you can see I haven't gotten far yet. I think I'm 100 pages in, 104, yeah. So still, I got 100 pages in, which looks like nothing in this beast. But yes, I'm still reading that one. I'm gonna continue reading it with other books. I posted my other books recently, which on Instagram, which ones I recently purchased. So I'm gonna go continue through them, and maybe we'll make a video on chronologically backwards what I've read. But that's all for me. Thanks for watching and have a lovely day. See ya!